our virtual masterclass for December, our last one for the year. And for those of you who know this class, you'll know that I spend most of my time training companies across the world to attract and select top talent and train interview skills, especially in our new world of AI. And Vanessa is one of my favorite collaborators. We actually met over Twitter. And I think she was the first person I met over Twitter, but Van is one of these incredibly clever tech people who's always ahead of the curve. So I know she was long, she'd been there and met many people a long way away already. And so I'm really excited that she's joining us at the end of the year, because she is somebody who, if you know, you'll know she speaks across the world at different conferences related to recruiting. She calls herself head cheerleader. I said to her, Van, what should I put? CEO? She's like, no, I'll never be a CEO. Please don't call me CEO. So we would love to hear why she calls herself head cheerleader. And she is with the talent, well, she pretty much owns the Talent Hunters. And we are all very excited because those of us who know her will know that she has been selected for the EMEA Winning Women cohort for 2024 for Ernst & Young. So she has already grown her business so quickly. And now she will be growing it at an even greater speed, exponentially. And so we look forward to continuing to see that. So Van, welcome. We're so excited that you're joining us today. And so please do start off by telling us how you started in this industry and why you're called head cheerleader.
Okay, excellent. First of all, great to see so many familiar faces. Thanks everyone for being here. We're going to have a really fun session. Always good to chat with you, Jane. I feel like we're just jumping on a call to catch up on things, but there's a whole lot of people watching us. So I just need to remember there's a whole lot of people watching us. So the head cheerleader actually came about because when I was working at my previous company where I was for 10 years, I was the head of talent acquisition at a tech company. I wanted my job title to be the head cheerleader. And I spoke to the management team and spoke to a couple of people, and they refused. And I said, well, one day when I open up my own company, I'm going to call myself the head cheerleader, because then I can do whatever I want. And I did exactly that. So I think it was the stubborn, rebellious streak in me coming out. A little bit of history about me. I'm actually a qualified teacher. I finished school in the sleepy fishing village of Durban. I went and studied teaching. I come from a long line of teachers, my gran and my mom. And I loved it, taught in the UK for 7 years, then decided I was going to go and live in Southeast Asia because I was over the weather in London. I had my British passport and went and trained as a scuba diving instructor, which was also great fun, had dreadlocks. And I just had a great time traveling around in East Africa too. And then ended up sitting at a recruitment agency in front of Kaz, who's on the call, at PAG. I was looking for a job to get into adult education, and Kaz said, no, have you thought about being a recruiter? I'd never thought about it. I didn't know what a recruiter did. I don't know if Kaz even knows this, but I'd had to borrow clothes from my mom to actually come to the interview. My hair was about this long to cut my dreadlocks off. And that was me, 2 years in agency recruitment and 10 years in internal recruitment. And then the company sold to Eltron, and I was like, again, I'm not going into a corporate, it's just not my vibe, and decided to open my own company, which has been great. Loved it.
Yeah, it really has been great, Van. I feel like you didn't have that normal time of, let me just really scrape along for the first couple of years. It was almost like you hit the ground running, as if this has always been what you've been doing. And I echo Kaz completely in the chat. She says, woohoo, best decision ever. Absolutely. You were cut out for this. So Van, I know you focus mostly on sourcing. So please, for those of us on the call who maybe are not as familiar with that term and everything that it involves and why it's so critical, please share a little bit more about that to start off with.
So is it rude if I actually turn around and say talent sourcing is the fun part of recruitment? Is that rude?
I don't think it's rude, but you'll have to explain
it's the truth for me. It is the truth for me. So let me explain. Talent sourcing is the beginning part of the recruitment process. So it's literally when you go to market and you go and actively look for passive talent. So there's lots of different theories around this. It is a new thing. It was only actually in 2018 when I went to my first SourceCon, which was in Budapest in Hungary, and I realized sourcing was actually a thing, because us in South Africa, we've all come from that 360 recruiter background where you've had to source, you've had to, do business development for clients, manage the whole process, close the deal, do a whole lot of things like that, where, it's really difficult. Where in a lot of the international companies, especially the big ones, the Metas, the X, Eventbrite, they have talent sourcing teams. So for me, it's a specialist role because it's a specialist individual who actually goes to market. So they don't put an ad on PNet or Career Junction or LinkedIn. They go and find the best person for the role based on the criteria of what the client has given them to go and find. So the reason why I say it's the fun part is because the more you get out of LinkedIn and job boards, the more interesting people you're going to find, the more diverse people you're going to find, probably the better candidates, to be honest. And then the skill comes in when you're cross-referencing those candidates on different platforms, getting to know them, writing a really good outreach message to them, and then making the connection. So it's the part of the recruitment cycle that I pretty much love the most, which is why I chose to focus on it. After that, I really feel like a really good executive PA could take over the running the candidate through the assessments, closing the deal, running psychometrics. And I'm not taking away from people who do that. That's a skill in itself. You've got to do the closing, which is difficult. But for me, the talent sourcing has just always been the most attractive.
No, I think it's such a critical skill, and especially in, what everyone I think on the call would know, the war for talent. And how companies know that the companies that have the best people are the companies that are going to win in the future of work. So there 100%. Is that fight, even in economic downturns. So critical skill.
Yeah.
So Van, how did you end up being part of this Winning Women cohort for 2024 so quickly after your business had started not so long ago? So tell us more about that and what you've learned. Yeah,
I was thinking about that. My business is 5 years old on the 1st of April. So I don't know next year, 2024. So I don't know whether we're still in a startup or we're a scale up. Doesn't matter if your team isn't growing. So I don't feel too new anymore. I don't think I look bad for being 21, but running my own business has, aged me, definitely. I actually blame Sasha Knott. So Sasha Knott from Job Crystal actually sent me an email saying this was part of the program that I was on for EMEA EY Winning Women. I've already nominated you. They're going to get in touch. And I was like, whatever, I'm busy. Then I got a phone call from EY, and one of the first things they asked me for was my financials as a business. And you know what us South Africans are like? I'm so sick and tired of being scammed and having to order new bank cards and, all of those things. So I'm not just handing, my financials over to some random person claiming to be from EY. Then went and did quite a bit of research, jumped on didn't send my financials. They got in touch with me, jumped on another panel interview with people from EY. And I thought, okay, this sounds quite serious. Then did a bit of research into what it was. And it was pretty incredible. So what they do is they choose 100 female entrepreneurs worldwide, and any other female entrepreneurs that are on this call need to listen out for this. They take pretty established businesses, so you need to be up and running and not necessarily making a profit, but you need to be, a successful business. That's why they want the financials, and they will invest in you for a year. So what they do is that they, talk you through, as I was in Joburg last week, Tuesday, it was a full day workshop about your business, where it's at, where do you want to get to, what is your end goal with the business. And there's another session like that in June, and in April, all 100, women entrepreneurs. There's only 6 of us in South Africa. The rest are global women are meeting in Istanbul, and we are doing like a full week of workshops, conferences, and basically it's working with management consultants at EY and economists and telling you, what you should be doing better, where should you be focusing. But I think a lot of it is going to come out of it is the networking opportunities, because some of these women are like, I sit and look at myself and always refer to myself as, the girl from the CP fishing village of Durban. But these people have like MBEs, MBAs, OBEs, like really, really successful women that are on this program, like often on their second or third successful business, sold the first one for millions, now they're angel investors. And it's just super interesting. So I think a lot that will come out of it is the network that goes with the ER Winning Women program. So I think that if anyone wants to know more, think about it, hit me up, and I'm happy to put you forward for the cohort for next year.
Yeah, that's awesome, Van, and well done on
Thank you.
being nominated and selected. So I think leading into that, you've had experience networking with some of these people so far. You've been speaking globally, you've been training globally and nationally and locally. So what are the talent trends that you've seen so far in 2023 before we move into 2024?
So let's face it, who hasn't gone to play with ChatGPT?
I
I mean,
love
that's
it.
a big thing that's happened in 2023, right? It's been huge. Really knocked a lot of industry sideways. Some worse than others. I mean, I wouldn't like to be in the UI, UX, content writing, copywriting space at the moment. But also recruitment. I mean, I think there was a lot of panic, people working in the industry of, this is it, I'm out of here. And I keep reminding people, job boards were supposed to replace us. LinkedIn was supposed to replace us. People try to get rid of us recruiters for years, but we're just like a bad smell. We keep coming back. So I don't think we need to be nervous about, what the future holds, but we need to use it correctly. And I think we've seen a lot of people using it incorrectly. We've all seen those really long, verbose LinkedIn posts. We've all got those emails, and I'm just like, this doesn't even sound like the person. So, if you're going to be lazy and you're not going to keep prompting until you get something that sounds like you, the results are going to be pretty poor. So that's the big one for 2023, and it will continue in 2024. I mean, I'm amazed about the rate of how these software companies and of developing APIs. You can plug it into kind of any software that you're running or CRM system at the moment, and they're just coming up with new tools and new tech all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a big thing for 2024, but another thing I learned when I was in Joburg at EY last week was actually next year has been called like a super event on the election side. I think there's a lot of countries having major elections, South Africa being one of them, US being one, and that's putting a lot of fear in a market that's affected by recession. That's coming, US affecting more of Europe. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Ukraine? I can't believe that's still going on. Middle East has kicked off. And all of these things are going to have a knock-on effect for us. So I think the first 6 months of 2024 as recruiters, we've literally just got to gird our loins, knuckle down and do what we can. But I think that there's going to be a lot of factors that are out of our control.
Yeah, absolutely. I think something that recruiters have in their favor is that it's a group of people who are naturally resilient and adaptable and flexible. And I think we made it through COVID, we made it through the pandemic. People were agile. And I think it's so important that we and people in other industries who will be affected hold on to that.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be a time to kind of roll over and die. And especially, as you say, with AI, I'm not just seeing it in recruiters, I'm seeing it in every industry where people are afraid that it'll take their jobs.
Yeah, but I think it's also, if you look at the flip side, if you look at the positives, I mean, another thing that's been really noticeably obvious in 2023 is the skills shortage. I mean, us as South Africans, we always deal with skills shortages. We can't find the right skills. A lot of people have immigrated, but it's becoming a global issue now. So what that means, as a lot of companies in Europe that I'm dealing with and consulting to are looking at Africa for skills. So that is a complete gap for anyone working in the recruitment industry in South Africa to, kind of pair a team up with European-based organizations to find the talent here. They don't even need to leave the country. You can leave them in country. There's enough organizations now where you can run people through third-party suppliers. So the tax is right. They're paying their, UIF and whatever else we need to pay, all of those funny things that I see. And it just makes it so much easier. So for me, it's also a good opportunity because the focus is on us because we have the talent and people are keen and just need that extra little bit of nurturing in a, maybe a different business setting. And I think it'll be great.
Yeah, and I think, we've been in conversation this week in a couple of other sessions as well. And we've talked about that trend there where we're seeing RPOs, international RPOs coming and headhunting our really good recruiters who are perhaps part of smaller firms. But I think you were saying the prediction is even if they do lure them now with silly salaries, that's not necessarily going to be sustainable. So tell us more.
I've just seen the RPO market really boom in COVID, especially in the UK. A lot of companies, started bringing in South African recruiters. At one stage, one of the biggest ones had like 90 South African recruiters working for them, paying them a fortune. But then the recession from the US hit Europe. And then suddenly that market was flooded. Our market was South African recruiters who were now on salaries up here, cut their cloth accordingly, had moved into maybe bigger places, bigger rents. And then now suddenly they're back in the South African market, and it's like, oh, now I need to think about the salary. So I think you just got to be really careful about, how you approach it and think about how stable things are.
Yeah, I think so. And I think with some of these recruiters who are being poached and headhunted and lured away, I am seeing some of the ethics slip around those transactions where they are kind of trying to go undercover in terms of taking clients with them. And I think it's so important for people to remember that if you bend your ethics, that has a very short-term perhaps success, but long-term, it really doesn't. And if you burn your bridges and things don't work out, it's very difficult to come back. The market is small.
Yeah.
And so, apart from it's important to be ethical, I think especially in our age of AI, the gig economy, people being flexible, it's important to remember our values and why we do what we do.
Yeah, so. Exactly, 100%. And I think you've always got to go back to that as a recruiter, because let's face it, it's actually not the easiest job. You have to be really tenacious. You've got to deal with a lot of people and their crap. So, to stay here, we've got to remind ourselves, what is it at the core of us that wanted us to work in recruitment in the first place? Because we didn't study to be recruiters because we couldn't. So why do we choose to stay? And that's almost sometimes needs to be a daily reminder.
No, absolutely. And I think it talks to your point as well, where you're saying, and I agree that AI it's not going away, it's going to be on the increase. But that personalization, and I think the other day you even mentioned the word hyper-personalization, which I love, is even more important, because I know how I feel too. And I get an email that's clearly written by somebody who's not a human, or I see a LinkedIn post that's clearly ChatGPT constructed. It's so off-putting. It doesn't even evoke a neutral response. It evokes an off-putting response.
But people also need to look at like the time factor. So if I go onto ChatGPT and I type up there, write me a LinkedIn post, let's say I'm doing a LinkedIn, my previous one, which was it? Monday, I did one about having a knee surgery tomorrow. It would write it up. But then what a lot of people go wrong with it is that they copy it, they paste it into a Word document, they then think that they put their twist on it, but you can't actually do that. It's what you should be doing is you should be saying, I need to do a LinkedIn post around having a knee op. These are the details that you need to add in. And the more information you're putting into the prompt, the better the result. Then you still need to actually read it out aloud to make sure that it sounds like yourself. Because if it doesn't sound like yourself, then you've got a problem. So to be honest with you, Jane, by the time I've done all of that, I'm like, why don't I just write it myself? So I never use ChatGPT to do anything that I know I could probably write quicker. And I want it to sound like me. I don't want it to sound like anybody else. But like when I sat down before I moved house about 2 months ago, and I'm putting together a new training around business development for recruiters, when I actually went to ChatGPT and I said, I'm putting together this training, I want it to be 4 hours long. These are things I want to include. What am I missing? How would you segment this into modules and all of those things? It did a fantastic job, but it's not going to write the course for me. It's going to be someone that I can bounce ideas off, because as a solopreneur, I don't always get to do that.
No, absolutely. And I think it is brilliant for bouncing off ideas. And something that I'm really surprised about is I find that in training workshops, when I've been speaking to, whether it's recruiters or hiring managers, a lot of people, I actually expected that everyone would be using ChatGPT for that purpose, as you say, to generate ideas, save time, not replace themselves. But I've been surprised at how few people I've actually come across that are using it or using it effectively. So what has your experience been in 2023 and your prediction for 2024 from that regard?
So my prediction in 2024, what I would think would be is that those people who are using it incorrectly are actually going to put themselves in more of a negative light. And this isn't going to help our recruitment industry. We're already like lumped in with the secondhand car salesman and, the dodgy estate agents. No offense to any of those people who might be on the call, but it's true, right? So, those people I think are going to get weeded out quite quickly. I do think the prediction for 2024 is that we need to embrace it because it really isn't going anywhere. But one of the biggest tips that I give in my AI workshops is literally don't try and learn everything about AI. It's totally a waste of time because you're never going to keep up. You are never going to keep up with all the tools. I can hardly do that. So figure out what is your problem. So my big thing, one of my big plans for 2024 is putting new courses into my academy. I am using ChatGPT to figure out, okay, how do I structure those? And then I'm going to go and find a tool which will take me speaking in English and put it into different languages maybe, or will add in subtitles. But anything that I can use to enhance the video. So my focus will be on video AI tools. I'm not going to go and look at other AI tools that are not relevant to me. And I think that's where people are going wrong, is that don't have the problem first and then try and figure out how they're going to use generative AI to solve that problem.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, Karen. And that for me is going to be a big differentiator for those people who stay ahead. Is like, what's menial in your life? Like, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm sure we all hate admin, the recruiter kind of personality. So what can we use AI to do to help us to automate in order to take away the admin? Because with that extra time where I'm not doing admin, I want to be spending more time in front of people. How do I do that?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
And it's such a good point, Van. And I think a lot of people are holding back because they feel like there's so much to learn. It's so overwhelming. I can't even start. I'm already behind. But as you say, if people can just focus on what do I need? What problems do I have? What do I need solved? How can I use AI for that? Then it makes sense. Then it's meaningful. Then you have a purpose in terms of what you search for and how you use it. So I love that.
Yeah.
So recruiters on the call who have not yet started using it, please just jump in. You're not as behind as you think you are. And Van has got some great training on her online academy. If you need to get upskilled or just kind of, ease in, then I love how Van has started that online academy. And I think it's been very successful so far. So tell us more about what you've got on your academy, Ben.
So at the moment, as it stands, I was actually just saying to my husband this morning, is I'm going to have fun in January because a lot of the content needs to be updated. For example, thank you, Elon Musk, for changing the name of Twitter to X. So now I need to re-record all of those videos now that I know it's going to stay X and get all of the content up to date. So at the moment, it pretty much covers my 3 pillars, which is your personal brand. So, that's really important. It's the reason that I put down to the fact that I travel all over the world speaking and things like that. Because I stand out to have a strong brand. So there's courses for that. There's also courses about, please don't ever pay for LinkedIn Recruiter. It's really expensive. I'll teach you how to source and write Boolean and not have to pay for these tools. And then the other is all about your reach out, so, what are you saying? What should I say, medium are you using to interact with people? Are you using personalization? So that's as it stands. But then this year, I've actually had a lot of people saying, Van, do you run training on business development for recruiters? And I've decided that I may as well put together training for that because if there's a demand, I may as well. So that's just going to be a new 4-hour workshop. And the other thing I need to do, which I'm going to put in just for free into my academy, I did the opening keynotes at Sourcing Summit Amsterdam this year, and I'm just going to record that presentation, which is all about staying human in a world of AI, put into my academy for free. So if you guys want to watch that, and then so that's pretty much it into the academy for now. It's really difficult to put anything AI orientated into the academy because I'm updating it literally weekly. So I discover a new tool, I put it into my workshop, something changes, OpenAI brings out something new. So I can't record that and put that online just yet, but there's a couple of videos on my YouTube channel if anyone wants to go and have a look. So tomorrow, I don't know if you've been following that advent calendar that I'm part of with Sandra Feldman organizer. She's in Germany. The door you open, I actually give you guys a link to go and sign up. The door that's opening tomorrow is mine, and there's actually a video there on YouTube. I'm putting the link into the chat, and it's all about ChatGPT and recruiting.
Nice, love it. Love it, Ben. And I love that you're always refreshing, always looking, always changing, always updating, and that's so key, as we know, for training and coaching.
Always multitasking.
It's just wired that way. So
But I just put another link, sorry, just for my academy, just if you want to sign up and do the free training as it stands.
Awesome.
There will be more coming.
Yes, please do. And please add your LinkedIn. I'm sure people are connected to you on LinkedIn, but please add that link too for those who want to connect. So Van, in terms of 2023 and moving into 2024, we've talked about AI, we've talked about that the beginning part might be a little bit quieter. And so some industries might be holding out for the second half of the year and moving into 2025. Any other trends that you've picked up on or seeing or thinking about that you haven't mentioned so far?
I think video is going to be a massive thing in the recruitment industry. I really and truly do. I've seen the positive impacts of me. I mean, I decided about 4 months ago, because obviously I was not feeling like I was busy enough to really sort out my YouTube channel. And I've been trying to post videos on there once a week. And it has just grown exponentially. Really, really good uptake on it. People are watching the videos. They're watching snippets of my videos there, then purchasing, content in my online academy, as well as TikTok. And guys, I fought it for ages because, I'm tired of seeing all these teenagers walking around with just the back of their phones. But TikTok's great. And TikTok next year is actually tipped to be really big in the recruiting space. So if you're not on TikTok, join over the holidays, get used to it. You always say new platform, get used to using it from a personal perspective, and then figure out how you're going to work this actually into your recruiting process, because TikTok's big. And TikTok's a nice distribution channel like YouTube. You can put something on YouTube and you can share it on your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Insta, same with TikTok. So really good platform. So I think video, big one next year, even bigger now. And then the second thing, Jane, is probably, I think that there's going to be, we had the pandemic, everyone was obviously sent home. We then kind of came out of the pandemic and then we had hybrid. I don't think that's been working for everyone. So I think we're going to see maybe a bit of a mix up in the way people work. I think we're going to start seeing more companies going for a 4-day work week. I'm on a 4.5-day work week. I'm going to get that to 4 during the course of next year. And I just think it's going to be, it's going to be different. People are going to be more understanding around mental life, mental health, work-life balance, and maybe structure more subjectively on each individual's needs the way that they work, starting with the smaller companies, the SMEs doing this, and maybe corporates. So Sean, how would TikTok be successful? I want to answer that quickly. Is there's a lot of people that are doing really well in the South African space around TikTok that are actually giving advice to job seekers. So how to put a CV together, how to interview better. And it's stuff that just comes naturally to us that we know. But when you start putting together a 60-second video and helping people find jobs, it's amazing. So if a company could be doing that, a recruitment agency could be doing that, then that would be great.
Okay, thanks for that.
Cool.
Charlotte, Charlotte.
Any tips for internal recruiters? The same, hey, Charlotte, to be honest, it's about video. I mean, for me, the biggest thing for internal TA teams is that, and this should have been a focus in 2023, but we didn't quite get it right, is employer branding. Like, people want to work for companies where they see the companies doing good things, making a difference. It's not like everyone wants to go and work for a massive bank, get the big salary kind of thing. It's, giving back, where can I have more of an impact? So everyone's got to work on talent attraction. And that for me is a team sport, because it's pointless just your recruiters, like, singing the praises of the business from the rooftops. It has to come from the top. Everyone who works for that company has to be cognizant of employer branding and how you can use that for talent attraction. And if you're sitting in the agency space, it's about buying into that view of your clients and literally becoming that trusted partner that has the same values and ethics as that organization.
No, I totally agree. And I think adding to what you're saying there, Van, I think part of that advice for internal recruitment teams in the line of employer branding is the candidate experience that we can't let go of. And people are really not prepared to spend time on a process that is lengthy or complicated, or where they need to repeat themselves, or that's not engaging. So I think there as well, it's very important how we use AI to make those processes more efficient, easier, smoother, more engaging, but there's still such a strong human element. And I think those companies, for example, like Start and what they've done with HelloFresh, it's so important to have an ability to measure the candidate experience and get not just quantitative but qualitative feedback on how candidates are experiencing your site and how they're experiencing each part of the recruitment process. And I love how companies like that have actually appointed candidate experience specialists. So there's a whole new job, a person who is dedicated to looking at the candidate experience.
That would actually be a very cool job.
It is, yeah, I think it's amazing. I mean, HelloFresh, for example, has a number of them. I'm just mentioning them as someone because someone
imagine being like a ghost candidate. You know, so like I was on a thing when I lived in London that I was like a ghost diner. So you would go and eat at a whole lot of restaurants, you'd pay for it, you'd hand in your till slip to them at the end, and you know they would pay you. But the people in the restaurant didn't know you were actually assessing them, and you were actually doing a rating of the service, the food, the time, all of those things. And it was that should be something that's in the recruitment industry, right?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, but that would be really good.
And I think something else that has come to the fore is the skills that people are looking for. So again, with AI, I am seeing that impact the roles themselves. So you've mentioned prompt engineering, Van, around how that's becoming part of every job as well as a job on its own.
There's actually a bit of a debate at the moment now whether a prompt engineer is, as we talk about it, just someone who can prompt. It's thought that that's going to become part of like waking up in the morning and being able to put your underwear on. You know, everyone's going to have to know how to prompt kind of thing. It's not going to be really a specific role, but there's going to be a lot of need for people on the techie side of AI. And I think the thing that I've been hearing over and over again in 2023 is, you know, if you're not going to embrace AI, that's fine, but you're probably not going to have your next career move or get the next job because you're going to lose out to someone who uses AI more effectively than you to actually be more effective in their role. You know, and so that's where the impact is going to come into play from you from a personal perspective.
Yeah, such a good point. And I think even, you know, you mentioned that recruiters need to be trusted advisors, which I'm wholeheartedly in agreement with. And I think part of that role needs to be looking at roles with clients and assessing it together and saying, in this role, is it really updated? Are there not parts of this role that can be performed in collaboration with AI? How should we adjust it before it goes to market? And that feeds into the employer branding so that you don't look outdated as you're putting job descriptions out there. So such a good point.
Yeah.
There's another question there from Grant, and I know we don't normally take questions now, but Van,
if you could take them, I don't mind.
Encourage, I know you're flexible. How do we encourage recruiters to take time to fill into consideration? So the candidates, you know, especially the scarce skills, they're not staying on the market for long. Anything to speak to that for 2024 and how people can best do that?
Look, I think that there's no doubt about it, but we've got to reduce our time to hire. But that's a lot of moving parts. You know, I think it's a lot about us recruiters, you know, either sitting in an agency or in internal teams, both of us, educating our hiring managers. You know, like, I mean, I've even had tough discussions with clients when I was, my internal clients, when I was working internally, when I'd send them a CV and they wouldn't give me feedback for 3 days. And I'd say, actually, I'm parking this role because it's obviously not as important to you as it is to me. When you're ready to review my CVs in 12 hours after me sending them to you, then I'll recruit this role for you. But in the meantime, I'm going to focus on this role because someone else in the organization, and I know it's bullshit. I know people probably thought, "Wow, geez, that Vanessa's such a cow."
That is important to you,
but it's true, isn't it? Because we can't hold on to candidates, you know, for that long. And I think, again, it's about recruiters managing up and recruiters being strong enough and believing themselves that they need, you know, that seat at the proverbial table that we always hear about. Another big trend for 2024 is around the data. Is that, you know, it's very easy for a recruiter to turn around to a hiring manager and say, what, you want a data scientist and you want to pay them, you know, what, 17,000 Rand a month? You know, when we say to them, that's ridiculous, you know, you're smoking your socks here. You need to have the data to say, actually, these are 5 data scientists that I've spoken with. Their salaries range from 60 to 90,000 a month. Your 17,000 isn't going to cut it for what you're looking for. So either we let this person work 1 day a week, because that's what that's going to cover, or, you know, whatever it is, or we need to reassess things. So, and I think, you know, again, it's also about the way that you do it. But if we have the data to back up what we are saying as recruiters, and we're managing the process upwards, and we're being professional. Exactly, Kaz, one of the things PAG drummed into me is who's driving the bus? And that's what you got to do, right? Is,
Yes.
And don't be afraid to fire clients. If it's not working for you, why are you wasting energy?
And Van, I think what you were saying about, what are my problem areas? How do I use AI and collaborate with AI to help me? That is one of the areas, is how do I use AI to help me access that data so that I can be a trusted advisor with credibility and people don't feel like I'm just sharing my opinion. But I think that it talks to as well what people are saying and have been saying for a while is that soft skills are no longer referred to soft skills. I know they've got that new word, superpowers.
Yeah.
As recruiters, in order to do that, it requires recruiters to be assertive, courageous, confident, curious, adaptable, emotionally intelligent, to be able to be a trusted advisor, to combine that with the data analytics and the knowledge, to be able to speak up. So with AI,
and recruiters can only do that by, upskilling themselves, Jane. I mean, if you think about it, how many times have you seen our faces on webinars, all over the world in the last week, and it's always the same people who are on the webinars learning, understanding what's happening on a global perspective and things like that. And it's, those people are the ones who are going to stand up because they can have the better kind of conversation, as opposed to someone who's just, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to focus on my desk and not pay attention to what what is happening in the rest of the industry. That's not going to work anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Van, any final tips or pieces of advice for people who want to thrive in 2024? Don't want it to just be an average year. We never do. We never go in thinking, I'll just hope I make it.
Probably the best piece of advice is going to be, and it sounds ridiculous, but I haven't thought about how I could phrase this differently, but I really encourage everyone to up your human. And by that, I mean, be a genuine, authentic human being, show that to people, think about where you can start building communities in the niche space that you are recruiting, really specialize. And then also think about taking that personality more online to wherever your niche community is. I think it's something we're always afraid to do. Go and have a look at Faye's post that she put on LinkedIn today about her journey over the last couple of months and where she's got to. And I have watched Faye's development. She did my training, 18 months ago. We spoke about personal branding, and it's taken a while, but now Faye is probably one of the most recognized recruiters from a branding perspective in the country. So it's about being more like Faye, and just having the guts to put yourself out there. Everyone's kind of like always worried, and what are the backlash and what are people going to say? And I know it's, again, maybe easier for me to say because I'm now in my later 40s and I don't really care what other people think or say, but just do it. The rewards are far greater than not. I mean, I'm already now, because of my personal branding, I'm going to speak in, I'll be in Istanbul for Winning Women, Spain, Colombia, in negotiations for the UK. And it's because I'm brave enough to have an opinion, even though we come from South Africa. And who's South Africa in the global recruiting or talent sourcing space? But jeepers, we're an important player. And we've got some flipping good talent sources and recruiters here. Yeah. So I think it's about being brave to bring your human, bring your whole self to this industry and work harder at standing out.
Yeah, thank you, Van. I love that. I love that encouragement to be brave. And I love Kaz. My company theme for 2024 is Be Fierce, the year of abundance. I love
I'm expecting great things from Pollock and Associates next year.
Yeah. And I think, along with what you're saying, Van, on an individual level, if we don't live by that, I think those are the things that we might get to the end of our career and regret that we didn't do. And
I think a lot of recruiters sit back, Jane, and they think, I wish my company did more. And they did more with their branding, and they did more with attracting talent, and they spent more money here. But you know what? The one thing that's going to stay with you forever is your personal brand. So yes, encourage your company to do that. That will help you immensely in your recruiting career. But build your own brand, because you actually just don't know what the future holds. And that for me is just so imperative. I had no idea when my previous boss called me into his office on a Friday morning and said, I've sold to Ultron, they're coming in next week when you're in Budapest to sign all the paperwork. I wanted you to know first. And that for me was just like the rug had been pulled out from under my feet, but it was the best thing. So you have to make sure your personal brand is strong, because there are no guarantees in life.
And that shows such resilience, Van, that sense of, here's something that looks like it could be a disaster, it could be a problem, but you turned it into an opportunity.
Well, it's not as bad as load shedding, and we deal with that every day. So come on, guys.
So, but
we're good, we're resilient.
We definitely are resilient. And that's one of the key soft skills or superpowers, for the future of work, are curiosity, resilience, adaptability. And I think whether, our world of work is set to change faster than ever, we're saying that project management, change management are other skills that people are going to need more and more in 2024. And the difference is that our rate of change will be faster than we've ever experienced. So it's even more important to build our resilience. And we can. I think as humans, we've adapted before, we'll adapt again. And it'll be exciting to get together again at the end of 2024 and reflect back and see, wow, what happened? How was, look at that BFS year of Kaz's, and look at all the amazing things that happened. And Faye went to greater heights, and, someone else is now selected for Ernst & Young because they connected with Van. And
get in touch with me. I'm happy to introduce you next year.
So let's close off the recording just to open up for more comments, for more ideas, for more questions. Please do connect with us. We'll put our connections, our URLs into the chat, and please do share yours as well if you'd like to connect with the other people in the room. And otherwise, just wishing you the most amazing break over this festive time. If you are taking a break, and our European counterparts aren't taking as much of a break. I still have one little workshop next week. It feels like far away from the beach, but there it is. And just really look forward to seeing you all next year. It has been a wonderful time connecting, and I love the space. I love seeing all the faces and all of you who come and who share and participate, and who create this time of safe learning for all of us. And thank you, Van.
Thank you, Jane.
You are amazing, and I'm so glad we're connected and that we collaborate. You're just such an inspiration.
Thank you. You too, Jane.